Hi friends, welcome back to our off-grid homestead. You caught me in the pantry. Now what am I doing up here on a bucket in our pantry? Well, a couple of months ago, I showed you inside, kind of showed you the ins and outs of our pantry, and I wish I could say that it always stayed clean and organized, but the fact is it just doesn't. So today I'm trying to make some headway, clear some things out. And while I was at it, I thought I would share a few things that we've learned along the way because we've been buying in bulk for many, many years. We've learned a few things that I think you need to know so that you're not wasting money, having food go bad, and just wasting precious space in your home. I started thinking about sharing some of our experiences because a few weeks ago we had a little situation that happened on our homestead, and it really had me scratching my head like, what just happened? It all started when I placed a bulk food order with our local co-op, and then the boys placed a co-op order at the same time, unbeknownst to me. Just to clarify, our boys are in their late teen years, and they do have the freedom to buy some of the things that they want to eat themselves, and we just have to find a place to put it. And I had no idea how much stuff the boys had ordered. I think what I ordered was kind of like reasonable. It was going to be pushing it as far as, is it going to fit in our fridge? Let me tell you, boxes and boxes of stuff, and it's not going to fit in the fridge or freezer. And so I'm trying every little trick in the book. I'm taking things out of boxes. Oh my goodness, hold on. Let me just pause to remove the kitten from the fridge. No, she doesn't belong there, and I think she knows it. Here is the problem. We placed a bulk food order 2 or 3 weeks ago based on the amount of stuff that we had. At least that's how I order. The boys just saw the deals and said, let's go for it. And I can't really come down too hard on them because we kind of taught them like this. We've always been kind of a buy in bulk kind of family. And so when they see deals, that's what they do, just like we do. However, between when we ordered, and I had no idea how much they ordered. I really didn't know. I knew they had placed an order, but the volume of the order, they like tripled my volume. And so anyway, between when we placed the order and now, when I picked it up today, they made a trip to the grocery outlet and there were all these deals. And so they're like, hey, let's go for it on the deals. And so I think it was last week or the week before, we loaded up on the deals that they had at the grocery outlet, which were pretty good. So now I am trying to creatively put this stuff away, and there's no creative way to force all this volume into this much space. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I texted the person who ordered the good share of this stuff, and I was like, what are we gonna do? Because here's my fridge, it's like cram full. He said, I guess I'll get some ice, and then he has to deliver some of it to our other son, and hopefully they have room in their fridge because this is kind of insane. Situations like this and more are the reason that we've had to lay out some principles in our bulk food purchasing. We do a lot of bulk storage, as we have for many years, and as I'm going through things in this pantry, it occurs to me that not everybody knows some of the things that we've had to learn the hard way. So stop buying these things in bulk. Buy them, use them, but just don't stockpile them. You might have a big crash like that. Oh gracious. You get too much stuff and then it's too crammed, you can't find the stuff you need, and things get wasted. One prime example that I am going to stop buying in bulk because of our bad experience is cereal. Now, for many years, we've been a cereal family, and particularly when we were living in the camper, because we needed convenience foods, we just didn't have that much space, and so we ended up eating a lot more unhealthfully than we ever have in our whole marriage and family, because we had a fridge, it was this big, and we just didn't have the capacity to store a lot of things. But we figured at that time that cereal, it's got a long shelf life. And so we were eating a lot of cereal. Yes, we'd have to go to the store at least every week, or maybe even sometimes a couple times a week, to restock the non-dairy milk, because you just can't store much in that 2x3 foot fridge. I ended up in those years, and I have cereal that's dating back to 2020 right now on my shelf. I just took out a giant box of like Rice Chex and Toasted Oats that we bought when everybody was eating a ton of cereal. Those were the preferred brands at the time. We've never been like a sugar cereal family, but I bought a bunch of it, and then like all of a sudden everybody's changed and they're like, we don't want to eat that anymore. And so there it sat on our shelf. And I didn't even realize we had that big case. I took a big case out maybe a month ago because people were just not eating it. And so the best thing to do, I'm sure, would have been to make a lot of Chex Mix and all that stuff. But at the time, I just didn't want to fiddle with it. And so I have it in the food purgatory. Not in here, but not quite thrown out, because I'm trying to think of what can I do with all this stuff. There's a chance that the cereal will go bad. A good chance. Because, yeah. So I'm going to open it up and check. But as I was looking at the bran flakes, I found a recipe for cranberry banana cereal muffins. So you better believe I'm going to be making some muffins over the next few weeks. And if I open this up and find that they're rancid, okay, out it goes. We'll throw it in the burn pile and we'll burn it. But if I can salvage it, I will. I like to try to use things up if I can. And just because people are tired of eating the cereal doesn't mean that it's bad. And I could donate it to a food bank, but it's like 4 years over past the date. So yeah. And stuff like this, like cereal, I don't feel bad about. Like, it's not going to go bad and hurt us. If it goes bad, it's going to be obvious by our noses. And so, yeah, bananas, bran flakes, regular stuff that goes into muffins, that sounds easy. I just got my little countertop oven, so I'm going to give that a shot. And right now, my neck is getting so tired looking up at you. So don't overbuy, don't stockpile cereal. Along the lines of cereal, another thing to not buy in bulk is a bunch of crackers. Now, my husband eats these every day, and he keeps multiple boxes in his car for backup. So he will buy these by the case, and that's fine. That's something that he can do. But I've learned not to get a lot of extra of these, like maybe one case at a time, because he really will eat one every couple days. But beyond that, you just don't want to buy a bunch of extra crackers, because they start going rancid and people get tired of them generally. And so that's the problem we have with these. I thought we loved these, and they're organic and they were a decent price. So I got a couple cases, and then everybody decided, nah, we don't like those. And I think there's actually a psychology of it. And I think the psychology is when you see like 2 cases of those same things, you're like, oh, I don't know. It's just something that does something in your mind, and you decide they're not that great because there's so many of them. They can't be that great if they were marked down. So yeah, I think there's a psychology there. So if you have a place to store them out of sight and people don't know, maybe that would go better for you. But other than that, I'm trying not to buy bunches of crackers, chips. You see the chips behind me? Just buy 1 or 2 at a time. We have learned the hard way so many times with chips when they go rancid. And those big bags from Costco, don't buy a whole bunch of those. We've done that. And then you have to store them, and sometimes they get mushed, and then you have chip crumbs. And then what are you going to do when you open up the bag? You have to have a place to store them. So just buy a couple, buy what you need, and then you don't have to worry about like storing them like we've done up here. We have multiple bags of open chips that we have to deal with. And if they go stale, but they're not rancid, then sometimes we'll just throw them on a cookie sheet in the oven for just a couple minutes on like really low 250 or 300, and that will crisp them back up again. But that's a lot of fiddling that you have to do when you could just not buy so many. So yeah. Okay, another thing that I strongly recommend you not bulking up on is peanut butter in any of your nut butters. And I will say that we were eating so much peanut butter. We were going through so much several years back. The kids were in their growing stages and they ate peanut butter on everything: bread, bananas, smoothies, toast. And so we would buy, I think this was also during the pandemic, where we would buy a couple every time we went because they were limiting the number. And we were like, well, we better get them because they're limiting. So we ended up with more than we needed, and then people decided they didn't really like that brand. And so we have these sitting on the shelf, and I'm going to open them up, and if they smell bad, they're going in the trash. If they're still good, we'll see what we can do about using them on toast or smoothies so that we're not just wasting them. But if they're sitting on your shelf and you're not using them, they're already getting wasted. You've already spent the money. So I'm trying to thin those things out. Okay, the next to the last thing not to buy in bulk is along the same lines as the peanut butter. So anything with oil or nuts or seeds in it, don't buy that stuff in bulk. Now, we don't always follow that rule. We buy the pumpkin seeds by the 5-pound because my husband sprinkles them on his bananas and his fruit every morning, and he likes to have a lot of backup. And so this is something that we are actively working on. It's not like it's just sitting there forever, and they've never gone bad on us yet. But if I got that many Brazil nuts or walnuts or something like that, then there would be a danger that they could go rancid, and that's a lot of money wasted. So any of your oils, you can buy some, but I wouldn't buy more than you're going to use in several months, because oils can go rancid, and you don't want to be left with a huge price on oil when, yeah, it's just a lot of money down the tubes if you don't use it. The last thing not to buy in bulk is, it maybe is pretty obvious, but like to our family, these things are not that obvious, and that is things that you don't know if you like. If you don't really like it, then don't buy it. And I fell into this trap many times thinking it's healthy, they're selling it dirt cheap, it's like a closeout, and I can buy a whole case for $2 or something. I've been burned so many times. Here's a prime example. This is kind of my dead area of stuff that I bought and I shouldn't have. So whoever has ever heard of freeca flour? Well, I hadn't. It said it was healthy, it's high in fiber, perfect for making pastas, breads, and pastries. This stuff is weird. I threw it in pancakes. The first time I made it, I made the pancakes entirely out of this. And this stuff is pure fiber. And I kept having to add more and more and more liquid. I think I added 4 times the amount of liquid for the recipe, because this said you can add it to your recipes, and besides, it tastes kind of burnt. And so why do I still have it? I don't know, because it's hard to throw away, that's why. So I have a whole bin of that, and I got those. They were really cheap and they were super healthy. So yeah, don't buy things that you don't know you like in bulk. That's why I like the grocery outlet, and I've been trying to be more circumspect with that. And if there's something that I'm curious about, I'll buy 1 or possibly 2. We'll try it out, and then if we don't like it, we're not going to order it on the bulk food order. Okay, another example was this. These are salted caramel ganache, and they were pretty cheap on our bulk food order system a little while back. And so I got several boxes of these, and they did sound delicious, and actually I think they're pretty good. They are vegan, 100% plant-based, and I always try to test those things out. Well, I got several cases because they were really closing them out. And turns out they're good, but not like everybody's favorite. And that's the thing that I already mentioned. It might be good, but you might not want 3 cases of it. You might want to just have a few to try. And so I use these, and I personally like these. These are really, really good with like the coconut whipped cream that we make, and it makes a really good parfait. I can layer those things. But it's the psychology of it again, where my family is like, you have 500 of those and we don't want them. So that leaves it up to me, but I'm trying not to eat much sugar, and these have, each little cup has 19 grams of sugar, so that's basically between 4 and 5 teaspoons. And so yeah, so I really dole those out sparingly. So if you don't know you love it, then maybe just don't buy it in bulk. So I hope these tips are helpful to you. I'd love to hear your tips, because we obviously are learning the hard way. That's pretty much our lives. Learn it the hard way, and then we'll pass that information to you. Continue to buy in bulk. Buy things like beans, rice, your grains. Store them. You can vacuum pack them. You can can things. You can store them in buckets or the Mylar bags. There's so many ways to do bulk. And just don't fall into these traps like we do sometimes. Shockingly, that night, we did end up getting everything into a fridge or freezer. We had 0 wiggle room left, but we didn't use the coolers at all. They bought the ice and brought it home, and they just ended up being extra. But I will say that I'm playing catch up on the videos, and that was about 3 weeks ago. And to this day, our fridge and freezer are still crammed full. We have no wiggle room. So it's just better to keep your options open, whether it's in the pantry or your fridge and freezer. Give yourself a little space, and that way when you come up with new things you want to buy, then it's just you can slide that stuff in and no problem. Thanks for watching to the end. I'm getting bit, so I better go. Have a great day, and God bless.